So we hope you enjoyed our spring selections. It is already, I can't believe it, time for the summer Sinead and Rick's must-reads with Eason.
Dear Mrs. Bird, I have to say this is just a gorgeous book, like being covered with a warm, cosy blanket. It's quite stiff upper lip and all that, but it's also charming and funny, but also very heartbreaking because it's set obviously in London in 1940 during the Blitz. So it's kind of this lovely mixture of warmth, charm, but also some really, really sad moments in it. I think it's been a lovely summer read.
I love the cover as well. Out of all of the ones that you were doing that I didn't know anything about, that's the one that made me go, okay, I'll try that on the cover alone.
It's a really nice cover, and it's actually a great title, very unusual.
Okay. I'm going to start with, again, cover, because I think that one just grabbed me the moment it came in. This is called Orchid and the Wasp. Her name is Keelan Hughes. She's a first-time Irish author. This is a bit more complicated in that it starts in 2002, runs all the way through until slightly after the crash, set with rich people in a rich part of Ireland, and one character who then tries to get her way out of that, and how the whole world collapses around her. That sounds really, that's not like a warm blanket grabbing you at all. This is the exact antithesis of the book that I've just given you there.
No, but her writing is exceptional.
I think so too, yeah. That's Orchid and the Wasp.
So this is, I always love to read thrillers in the summer, and this to me is an absolutely cracking thriller, The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand, set in the most magical setting of Nantucket. It's kind of society wedding of the summer, but things go askew when the bridesmaid is found floating the morning of the wedding, and
that'll cause a problem.
That'll cause a problem, yeah. Especially as every single guest has a motive. Lots of secrets, lots of lies, and it's just, I mean, I read it in one sitting. It's just cracks and fizzles along. I think it's a great one for the beach.
Sounds a little Agatha Christie.
Yes, there are similarities, yeah, and there's a great cop as well. We love a great cop.
Okay. Mine is, I'm always looking for a good thriller. This is probably the closest I've picked out of all of these that might fall into that category. It's called Home Fire. Her name is Camilla Shamsi. It's set in the UK right now, contemporary UK, amongst a cast of characters that's mostly Muslim. It's about what it's like to live there under a man who has now just become the Home Secretary. He's the first ever Muslim Home Secretary in the UK. It's about his son and the relationship he ends up with two girls. I'm revealing too much here, but two sisters and their brother who's ended up going to fight for ISIS in Syria, but who turns out to not really be built for that, and how he wants back. The ending of this book is devastating, and I had to put it down and go for a little walk around the room afterwards for a while when I read it. So I think if you want to understand what that situation is like these days, Home Fire is the book.
But it's the only ending that she could have come up with.
Absolutely.
But in my opinion.
It's an ending that very few authors would have the courage to go with.
My next summer selection is Clock Dance by Anne Tyler. I think she is one of the most phenomenal writers at the moment. This is just gorgeous. It's really a story about a 61-year-old woman. She's on her second marriage. She's kind of lost. She's lonely within her relationship. She's living on a golf course. She doesn't play golf. And she's kind of looking for fulfillment in life. And then this incredible situation happens where her son's ex-girlfriend gets shot, and she and her daughter need help. And completely randomly, she just gets up, packs a bag and flies across the country, much to her husband's shock and horror. And really, it's just about finding yourself and reinventing yourself, and it's never, ever, ever too late, which I think is kind of a beautiful theme.
It's weird, that slightly ties into this, which is my next one. She's a debut Irish author, Helen Cohen. It's called The Lost Letters of William Woolf. And it is about finding fulfillment in life and in your own relationship. It's set in the Dead Letter Office in London, which is the place where all of the letters that can't be delivered anywhere go for the letter detectives, that's what they're called, to find potentially who the people are.
And it's a real place.
It's a real place, and there's really, most countries have one of these. William, the title character, is in a relationship which he loves, and he loves Claire, he's in the relationship with, but maybe he's feeling that there might be something else in the world from the grass is always greener syndrome, and a letter turns up one day addressed to my great love, and he thinks it might be for him, even though it's ended up in the Dead Letter Office, and then he spends his time trying to find the person who's written that letter, and then he has a decision to make about his life and where it goes from there. It's a simple love story, but it's beautiful and it's really well put together. It's called The Lost Letters of William Woolf.
Gorgeous. Another of my summer read picks is non-fiction, Cornflakes for Dinner by Aidan Comerford. This is, it's a heartbreaking comedy about family life. He's been dealt a very difficult card through life because both of his daughters are on the autistic spectrum. And he really, he struggles, himself and his wife struggle to come to terms with it, as you would. But although the themes are, very difficult and dark, it's written with such joy and love and warmth, and he just finds humour in the darkest places, and that's what gets him and his wife through. And really, it's a love story. It's a love story about his wife, about his love for his children, and about his love for life, and how kind of the human spirit can overcome anything.
It is incredibly funny. I was talking to somebody I know who'd said that they felt really uncomfortable laughing as much as they were on the train when they were reading it.
That's
so
exactly
that's
it.
a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
My next selection is this. It's called I Still Dream by James Smythe. It is science fiction. If you like Black Mirror, for instance, I've said this a couple of times, it's the sort of book that might be for you. It's set in 1997 initially. A girl who is creating her own artificial intelligence using dial-up, as we all remember in 1997. And then the story jumps forward in increments through her creating that intelligence, who becomes a friend for her, her life, her missing father, who was a great computer programmer, and then how all of this starts to take over our lives, as it does right now. And there's a section of it set in the modern day, and where all of that might lead us, and where it might all go terribly, terribly wrong. Again, but it is a thriller as well, and I didn't think I'd picked two thrillers, but I kind of have.
Well, I'm not a fan of science fiction, and I loved it. So
yeah, it's really well worth the time. It's called I Still Dream.
we're loving these books, and we hope you will too.